Nvidia is launching a slower version of its gaming chip to China, essentially to comply with a lot of US export controls that have come up as the entire AI race was heating up last year. The US government set in motion a bunch of regulation, essentially saying that chip makers had to make lower quality chips or slower chips for China because they wanted America to kind of have a competitive advantage. And they did it from a bit of a national security perspective, saying like the military in the United States needed it. But of course, it's helping businesses and benefiting a lot of other areas. So today on the podcast, we're diving into all of this, exactly what is going on with Nvidia, what their chip will have in China, and what the implications of this we think are in the future. So let's get into it.
We gon' bring it to you just like that. Welcome everyone to the future. It's AI Chat, bringing you the interviews and giving you info to be in the know from tech company CEOs of. Rock with us, bet you gon' come back. I'm just saying the facts. This is AI Chat. Let's go.
So the big headline here is that Nvidia's new, of course, they're a U.S. chip maker, but they're based out of Taiwan, I believe. So, you know, it's a little bit more allied with America than China because Taiwan and China have a very complex, relationship. You know, Taiwan's always worried China's going to take them over. In any case, they are launching an adjusted version of their new processor in China that is essentially slower. It has less cores in order to comply with a bunch of American regulation. Now, this, I think, makes it even more difficult for companies in China that are training AI models to get like the most top-of-the-line tools in order to compete with American counterparts because, their tools literally are just being forcibly lowered in quality. So definitely a tricky situation for some of the Chinese tech companies or even tech giants that are trying to keep up with the United States. But essentially, what Nvidia has just announced is that the new processor, which is named the Nvidia RTX 4090D, it has 11% fewer CADA cores compared to all the versions which are sold outside of China. So that doesn't mean it's like 11% slower per se, but it does have 11% less cores. It is more than 10%. You'd get over a 10% boost by getting one of these anywhere outside of China. So CADU, which stands for Compute Unified Device Architecture, or CUDA, a lot of people call them CUDA. The CUDA cores are essentially critical for the performance of NVIDIA's RTX line of advanced GPUs. So NVIDIA's adjustments is all of this. They're doing this, of course, to comply with U.S. export restrictions to China. And so a spokesperson recently was talking to Router about all of this and said that the product is essentially like they're doing all of this to fully comply with what the U.S. has done. And NVIDIA has, extensively engaged. They've, quote, extensively engaged with the U.S. government while they've been developing, the product and making sure that this is okay. The government in the United States is not going to sanction them or anything. And they also specifically said in a interview, they said, quote, that the chip has been, quote, designed to fully comply with U.S. government export controls. So I think right now, NVIDIA definitely is trying not to step on anyone's toes with this. I'm surprised China hasn't kind of pushed back, but at the same time, China's threatening to just completely take over Taiwan, which is where NVIDIA was based out of. So I don't think that they would really have that much control over what NVIDIA does, or a lot of the semiconductors and chip makers out of Taiwan, right? Taiwan Semiconductor Company and a lot of others. So right now, the U.S. export restrictions are essentially aimed to prevent Chinese companies from accessing some advanced American chips. Really, they're doing all of this to target their AI capable chips and also some of their gaming processors, although right now the gaming processors are really just being snapped up for AI. And it's kind of interesting because NVIDIA is a company that, they grew a lot because of essentially people are using their GPUs for gaming. And then they saw an additional boost during the crypto kind of Web3 bubble when a lot of companies were buying up a lot of NVIDIA chips to essentially mine Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And kind of as that was dying off, the whole AI revolution started really picking up, and a lot of people were at the beginning of this year. And this really has spurred NVIDIA, which has, passed a $1 trillion market cap, all because of kind of the way the demand for their AI chips are, which you can't even get your hands on a lot of their AI chips because they're just so competitive and so difficult to get their hands on. The wait lists are, a mile long. So what I will say though is the original Nvidia RTX 4090 chip, it was included in the list of banned US-made chips as of October 17th of this year. That's according to the Securities and Exchange Commission filing. But NVIDIA's website mentions that the RTX 4090D essentially leverages AI to enhance performance. So what I think is interesting, and some people are speculating, is like how much less performant these chips are, or if they've kind of just done what the regulators have required as far as like hardware, and then they've used AI to kind of make up the difference so the chips are actually like better. So anyways, there's speculation on that, which I think is kind of interesting. But at the end of the day, NVIDIA's shares have significantly increased, right? Their share price, their stock is doing incredible as of last year. It more than tripled in price last year. And of course, it was all driven by the high demand for AI and of course, ChatGPT, which, kind of spurred this whole AI boom that we're seeing right now. So this is definitely very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if China responds and is upset about this, the fact that all of these chip makers now are shipping them lower quality chips, or if, they're just going to take it and perhaps buy more chips and move forward, and maybe it's not really that big of a deal. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes, and I'll definitely keep you up to date on how the story plays out in the future. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast, where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.